All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Good morning, everybody. Albert, I am messaging with Spencer because you didn't send a link to him yet. I thought the idea was that you send a link to Spencer Christian.
I did send the link. I'm not sure if this was the email.
Whoever
this
is producing this thing has
not the
no
right
idea
link,
what they're
damn
doing.
it. Let me just, not the right email address. This is an awful way to start. Albert, this is
Do you know who I am? It's kind of a big deal.
I am kind of Albert, and it would be nice if you could respect my big dealness. All right, I just sent you his email address. Please send it. We have Spencer Christian joining because we have quite the storm coming in, as you're aware, Kim. You know.
I am, yes.
I mean,
Kim, how are you?
It's a big one.
It is a big one, so we got to get that going. Tony, thank you for all your help today thus far on the show. We have a pretty big show, if I can say this. And Tony helped put together this Shadoe Stevens interview, which you'll see at the end of the show. It'll be a little, I'd call it a palate cleanser after all the stuff we're going to get to. You know, we'll get to the McCarthy stuff, and we have John Rothmann coming to break down the Kevin McCarthy issues and the issues involving GOP speakership in the House. So we'll get to all of that.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, so Tony has put together that Shadoe deal, and you'll like it. It's a good conversation with Shadoe Stevens. Meanwhile, we're watching a huge storm move into California, and they call it a level 5 storm. So we're going to talk to Spencer Christian in a moment. He is being sent the link by the terrific Albert. You know, close to my heart is Albert.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, it would just I just thought it was already done, and apparently it was not. I guess I have to make sure everything gets done exactly the way I want it to be done.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Exactly. Casey gets it.
Why are you yelling?
Because, again, I've got a big storm coming in. I've got a major booking. Spencer Christian, he's been watching this, and I want to get this show on. He's available now? Thank you. Finally, Albert. Spencer Christian, buddy, come on. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
A lot of shows wouldn't hang a light on whatever shortcomings they have. You know, they would ignore it and they pretend. We like to be right up front. So we're sorry that took a second to get you the link. But we do completely blame Albert. And that is his job as producer to take the blame, as you know. With you now, normally we knock around a little bit on a bunch of stuff, but with this serious storm coming in, I just wanted to steal you for a few minutes to give us the update on what to expect, how much, when it will end, etc. So, please.
Well, the first wave of the storm has moved in already, as you know. That brought some periods of heavy downpours and strong gusty. In fact, the strong gusty winds are still with us. But the second wave will be coming in probably early afternoon, sometime between 2 and 3. We'll feel the force of it moving onshore, and that's going to be a stronger period of storminess than we had this morning. Will probably continue through the afternoon and evening commute and may not wind down until after 8 o'clock. That's expected to bring longer periods of heavy, steady downpours just all across the region. I don't think any one region is likely to get much more rain than others. And wind gusts already have hit, I think, about 50 miles per hour or higher in the strongest ones so far. They will be even stronger with the second wave going into the evening. We may see gusts up to 60, 62 miles per hour, especially near the coast. But even over the bay and inland, we'll see gusts exceeding 50 miles per hour. So it's going to be a brutal evening commute. And of course, there's going to be widespread flooding. We have a flood watch in effect for the entire Bay Area, which is pretty unusual. We have a high wind warning in effect for the entire Bay Area. And as you see as you're displaying there, the concerns for today, very high for flooding on roads, stream flooding, creek flooding, mud, rock, and landsliding likely. River flooding is a high probability. And of course, we expect trees to be blown down and there'll be power outages.
Wow. Wow. That's quite the menu. And if you go up, Albert, a little bit, you can see above the warnings.
Uh,
You see the wind forecast, everything, as you said, so 40s, et cetera. But I wanted the rainfall estimates. Thank you, Albert. You had it right there, the rainfall estimates. That sort of puts a specific face on a lot of what you're talking about. So this is the 2-day rainfall total estimate.
right. And now, and as you know, Mark, given the fact that the soils are already saturated from the storm last Saturday, just 5 days ago, we get rain like this, 2 to 3 inches or more. I mean, that could produce some severe flooding and mudsliding and landsliding and all that sort of thing. So that's why we're issuing all these warnings. As I said several times on the air yesterday, I don't want to sound like an alarmist. I don't want people to feel that this is just a bunch of hype. We'd rather people be over-prepared than under-prepared. So this is to let people know how intense the storm is, what its impacts, what its worst possible impacts might be, so they can get prepared.
But to be pure about it, this is the expected impact. It's not that you're not saying, hey, look, it might, if there's no such thing as, we used to say, a perfect perfect prognostication in the computer models. But at this juncture, looking at the computer model, if it does come to pass as you've suggested, those then are the rainfall totals to likely expect, wind, et cetera, right?
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, this is exactly what we expect, precisely what we expect. So it's not just a worst case scenario. This is what we are projecting will happen. Yeah.
And then the last thing, Spence, and I really will let you go, is what's happening in the Sierra, because generally you do that computation, which is what, an inch of rain is a foot of snow in the Sierra. What can we likely expect in terms of snow and travel up there?
Yeah, I think they gave us a report just yesterday with that already at this point, even before this storm arrives, we're at something like 176% of average, or some figure like that.
Yeah,
so
right.
Basically, at the 5,000 foot level or lake level, we're expecting maybe 8 to about 16 inches of snow from this storm. Then, when you get up to the higher elevations, 7,000 feet or above, it could be 1 to 3 feet of snow. And the wind gusts there, especially in the higher elevations, will be up to about 65 miles per hour. And of course, if you get up to the ridges, where very few people go, but it's important to know this, up at the ridges, we expect gusts up to 100 miles an hour. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what the storm is expected to produce.
So I was reading yesterday, you put this storm, well, it says Drew Tuma upgraded from a level 3 to a level 5, which I thought he's taking some credit for that one. But the level 5, you guys have never had a level 5 that you've put up before.
Yeah, that's true. It's a 5-level scale we use. Level 1 is a light storm. Level 2 is moderate. Level 3 is strong. Level 4 is major. We've had maybe 2 or 3 of those. We've not had a level 5, which is considered a severe storm before. And the reason Drew's name is on it, well, I mean, no, he gets in earlier. Drew gets in there at like 3 a.m. So he's the first person in the weather office every day to begin, analyzing stuff and putting out the ratings. But we are in total agreement. This storm ranks level 5 for sure.
Yeah, and those who missed it, we had once before, and then I'm going to let you go, Spencer. You've been so kind, but you guys discuss it. I mean, the assigning of a number and a severity to an expected storm is something that goes into a conversation and a focus that you guys all have, and you literally collaborate on this and decide, okay, we think this storm is going to be this severity, et cetera. So when you say level 5 and it's unprecedented, we expect some serious stuff. Hey, pal, thank you so much for being a friend of the show and for spending a few minutes. I know there's a lot of demands on your time today, so thank you.
Always my pleasure. And is that fresh face Albert we're talking about back there? Or is that
Albert? That is fresh face.
Albert, thank you.
Albert, he keeps kind of a low pro, but generally he has his act together. But when he screws up, we like to really, really lay it into him. It's kind of it's our little pastime here. So
keep it fresh, Albert. Keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh, Albert.
Albert, thank you.
Thank you, Spencer Christian. Spencer Christian, everybody. We'll see you tonight on Channel 7. Great stuff. Yeah. So it's a big one. It's a big one.
Yeah,
wow.
Already the San Jose Fire Department is putting out, they gave a press conference this morning. They're talking about trying to keep people off of the roadways. They say it's possible we'll see a lull in activity between 11 this morning and 2 p.m. that forecast. We
yeah,
had a
that's what he was
we had
saying
a
too, right? That'd be a
yeah.
second wave, sort of. Yeah.
We had a lull. They forecast a lull New Year's Day, but that one didn't really, or New Year's Eve, but that didn't happen. So we'll see. We'll keep our eye on it. But they're saying that, yeah, this may actually disrupt commerce and possibly cause a loss of human life. So
Wow.
it's a
Well,
stay in kind of day, right?
man,
Yeah.
it is. But that's certainly true. If you don't have to do any kind of traveling, don't do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on today that's not weather related, but the weather will take center stage when we need to, bring it to you. Breaking news. Albert, I do want to acknowledge that you got a lot of love in the chat. Sometimes when I open up a can of how come you didn't get this together, Albert, and I open that up, that actually produces more support for you, Albert. So I want you to be aware that
I did, in fact, send that email. So I just sent it again. I did send the link originally.
Oh, you did to that
poor
email that I
Albert.
gave you, or was it to a different email?
It was the same exact email, but it was
Oh,
from your producer show email. So that wasn't my personal. I sent it from my personal the second time. So
I see. So, well, I don't know, but all right. Well done. I wish I could retract any sort of reprimand that I'd offered you, but as you know, we don't do retractions on reprimands. So I'm very sorry. But,
that's like a double ding word you just had there.
yes, a retraction on reprimand. Yes, you're absolutely right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, you're the big dude. We have talked about weather. I also want to talk about, speaking of big dudes, did you send the link to Steve Moskowitz? I may as well just ask you that now.
I did send on the producer email. Let me send it on my personal while I'm
Send
at
it to your personal email, if you would, from your personal. Steve Moskowitz, I just want to mention him because he does sponsor this show. He is our exclusive sponsor, and he's been in the Bay Area for over 30 years. But anywhere in California, anywhere in the United States, you can reach Steve Moskowitz, and he can help you. It's 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. I know you didn't pay your taxes, or you left something out, or you took too aggressive a posture toward a benefit or a deduction. He's seen it all. Don't worry about approaching Steve about anything. 888-TAX-DEAL. And if you're setting up a business in the new year, I think that's a great call to make. Steve can help you set it up with minimal tax exposure and possibly with some benefits, maybe even government loans that you didn't know about. It's not just pure taxes. When it comes to other things related to business and getting things started, dollars and cents, call him. Steve Moskowitz is 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also reach him online, MoskowitzLLP.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So the battle for the speakership continues. Is it 10:30 that John Rothmann is going to be coming on?
11 o'clock. He'll be here.
11 o'clock. I'm sorry. So we're going to put it aside till 11. Okay. Hour 2. John Rothmann wants to weigh in on what's happening with the GOP. With a fractured coalition, it is hard to get things done. I think for those of you who it's hard for me to tell. I would say maybe there are a handful of you progressives who are watching and who regularly tune in. The progressives could learn something from this. They, as you may be aware, and we touched on this with David K. Johnston yesterday, they tried, we'll call them the squad, for example. I mean, when speaking about the progressive part of whatever Democratic coalition there is in the House, they tried to essentially force votes on Medicare for all, you'll remember, and in essence, lean in to the power, little as it was, that they had to not vote for Nancy Pelosi in 2020. So it's not unprecedented. What's happening here in the GOP is different, I would say, in one important way. And then I'm going to put it aside and we'll let Rothmann weigh in and he'll do all the talking. But I would say it's not a philosophical difference they really have. There's no ideological fracture in the GOP. This is power. This is about MAGA. This is about loyalty This is about excuse me, really owning the leadership. So I want to get John Rothman's thought on that, but Kim, it differs in that way. The squad wanted to force votes on Medicare for all, for example. That's not what this is about.
I can tell you that they took a fourth vote today, and it looks like McCarthy still didn't get the 218 votes he needed. He's at 201.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah.
So that's the fourth round, with 3 yesterday where he didn't win, and number 4 today where he also didn't get enough votes. So,
well, there you have it.
They're still deadlocked. They're still duking it out.
Yeah, I mean, there are deals being made. I mean, what essentially is happening now is that there is trading going on, and we touched on that with David K. Johnson. We'll touch on more of it with, as I say, with John Rothman when he comes in. He'll be in at 11 o'clock. So we have a lot to get to still. So let me just get to it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's do some law and disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by 2 separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the buzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Albert, I'm wondering if I could ask you to tweet also that we're on the air. I didn't do that, so if you wouldn't mind, I appreciate it. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I will tell you that,
Albert, thank you.
There's something going on that may not affect that many of our viewers and listeners, but it is something to be aware of. And I think, wow, it is something you forget. And it's a big source of income for companies that I think do operate in something of a predatory way. And it takes place in the prisons. That's why it's in law and disorder. Incarcerated people in California now are able to make and get free phone calls. It's the Keep Families Connected Act. It went into effect January 1st. The deal with calls that are made from prison to prison is that there's a whole industry and economy associated with that. There's big money associated with these communications that prisoners have to make from prison. And it's estimated that 1 in 3 of the prisoners who are serving time in California go into debt simply because of the price of these phone calls. They can run $5 a minute.
Wow.
So the nonprofit Worth Rises has helped these prisoners maintain regular contact with incarcerated loved ones and with their people who are not incarcerated, and for those who are not incarcerated to maintain communication with people who are incarcerated, for people to keep in touch. And California is only the second state in the U.S. to have this law. Connecticut is the other one. Several major cities like New York and LA have similar policies at a local level, so the calls are free in those places. There is new federal legislation that could actually reduce the cost of prison phone calls nationwide. It's on Joe Biden's desk now for signature. So that is, as I say, kind of an odd law that you might not have been aware of, but it's nonetheless, it's a big deal, And I'm not a libby on Law and Order, as you know. But I also think that there doesn't have to be an industry to soak families of their money just because they're trying to communicate with loved ones who are in prison. Meantime, on the other side of town, the Idaho murderer, alleged murderer, has apparently taunted guards at the prison where he is now. He's been exposing himself.
What?
And singing violent rap lyrics as he sits in jail awaiting extradition over the deaths of those Idaho students. Yeah. Brian Kohlberger spends his days ranting and singing lyrics from violent rap songs inside this Pennsylvania jail where he's being held.
Nuts.
Several times, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students tried to expose himself to a female inmate who was held in a cell close to him. It's weird. I didn't think that they housed them close to each other, but I guess they do.
I think if you're in a county lockup, it's different than,
I see. Yeah, you're right. They don't quite have everything as segregated that way in terms of gender. They've made an arrest in the electrical substation attacks. 2 people arrested in Washington.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Good. They search, they continue to search for others as these nationwide attacks continue. But in Seattle, 2 men have been arrested, charged with vandalizing electrical substations in Washington state, left thousands without power over the holidays, as you may recall. And one suspect told authorities they did it so they could break into a business and steal money. Matthew Greenwood, 32, and Jeremy Crahan, 40. They're from Is it Puyallup?
I think so.
We'll go with that. We're arrested Saturday, and they're set to appear in U.S. District Court in Tacoma. Both are charged with conspiracy to damage energy facilities and with possession of a short-barreled rifle and short-barreled shotgun that I guess they were carrying as well. The Romeo and Juliet stars finally. Years ago, Kim, they did a movie, Romeo and Juliet, and it starred young people who, were the age that Romeo and Juliet would be, right?
Sure.
Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting. They were teenagers when they're doing this. And
what year was this?
1968.
Okay.
So kind of early on in the arc of our lives. But it was directed by Franco Zeffirelli, and it was a hit, and it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, but it was also controversial. And it was controversial because of a bedroom scene. Remember back then, it was we're kind of getting back to that place where we're sort of into this puritanical crap that we do. But anyway, there was, in 1968, it was a real tug of war over sexual liberation and what you're okay with, and, sort of that post-World War II repressive conservatism. Anyway,
right.
They do this bedroom scene, and you can see the dude's buttocks, the teenage boy at that time, Whiting, and her, Hussey's, bare breasts. Now the 2 of them are in their 70s, Kim. But they filed a lawsuit in Santa Monica Superior Court. Yeah.
This many years later?
Yeah, they accuse Paramount of sexually exploiting them and distributing nude images of adolescent children.
Wow.
Yeah.
And today, that movie never would have been made with the people that age.
That's
Never.
right. It would have. That's right. It would have been adults playing younger. Right.
Right.
I think, and there certainly would not have been the nudity.
Right.
With kids that age. The suit says that Zeffirelli, who again died in 2019, it's been so long, he assured both actors, they say in the lawsuit, that there would be no nudity in the film, that they would wear flesh-colored undergarments in the bedroom scene. But in the final days of filming, the director allegedly implored them, implored would be a ding word, to perform in the nude without body makeup. And he said, and this is a quote, "or the picture will fail." Hussey was 15 at the time. Whiting was 16. According to the complaint, Zeffirelli showed them where the cameras would be positioned, assured them that no nudity would be photographed or released in the film. The suit alleges that he was being dishonest and that Whiting and Hussey were, in fact, filmed nude without their knowledge. So these 2 people who are in their 70s, they want.
Is there a statute of limitations on that? I guess anyone can sue for anything, but I just wonder if, if it's going to get tossed out because of the time limit.
Well, it's interesting. In California, there is a law, and this is because of the Catholic Church, okay? Yeah. There's a law in California that suspends the statute of limitations when it's related to this kind of thing, sexual exploitation of children. So you can thank your Catholic Church for that. I think they were the real prime movers behind it. I mean, the controversies and legal entanglements associated with the Catholic Church are the very things that change that. So the answer is there is no statute of limitations on the exploitation of children.
Oh,
So they are able to pursue this lawsuit. Might be worth keeping an eye on.
I'd like to ding your knowledge on that. That's excellent.
That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod. Or that law just ran out. Is that right, Chris? Well, I don't know. I jumped in. It's always weird when you jump into the chat, like in the middle. Was it that law that you're talking about or another law? The law that I just mentioned just ran out in December of 2022. Seriously?
I shouldn't. I like that law.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Is that right? Wow.
That could explain why they put the suit out now. Before they probably filed it before the 31st.
Oh, they filed it before that. Yeah.
That's probably why they did it.
That's right.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Good. Now I want to ding that knowledge on knowing that the law ran out. Chris, very nice. Yeah. Too good. Too good. All right. Smash the like button like a boss. We gave you Spencer Christian in the first few minutes to give you an idea of the inundation that the Bay Area will likely suffer. And inundation is a ding word. I also would tell you that we expect this to last a few days, and it's not just the Bay Area. If you're in other parts of California, Southern California, and across the West, this is a substantial storm. And as we said, if you don't need to travel, don't do it. I want to do a quick check-in with Steve Moskowitz, if I can.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about I put it together for Steve Moskowitz? I was talking before, Steve Moskowitz, I was talking before about how, of course, under the umbrella of taxes and tax concerns, as we start the new year, you can be invaluable. But also, in addition to that, I was saying, a lot of us are thinking about starting businesses in the new year, of kind of beginning to turn the page on another part of our life that might involve being a small business person of some kind. You can help set that up.
Absolutely. And it's so vitally important because it's not just tax, it's asset protection. I want to see everybody go into business and prosper, and some people do, but some people don't. And if something goes wrong, you don't want to lose more than your investment and lose everything you work for in a lifetime. So you have to set up protections. There's all kinds of things that you have to consider. And most people don't. When most people start a business, they're all excited. And, I bake the best apple pies in the world. And when people try my apple pie, I'm going to be the apple pie king of the world. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So we're happy to help you with your taxes if you're making beaucoup. But on the other hand, we don't want to see you losing beaucoup either. And if something goes wrong, and oftentimes in business, let's face it, the reason that you stand a chance to make really good money in business is because you stand a big chance to lose your shirt too. It's gambling. So the bottom line is we want to protect you, and there's so much you need to know.
I really am glad that you point out something which we've endured ourselves on this show, which is the enthusiasm and the determination to build something. But then you're knocked down. In our case, it was we were continuing to be knocked down by YouTube and like by a clerical thing. It has nothing to do with anything that we did. And it's really, if it becomes frustrating. The same is true of the tax code. The same is true of business restrictions. The same is true of the legalities concerning setting up a business. You can, as you say, have the best apple pie on the planet or whatever it might be. Your business can really excite you, and yet you can be beaten down by these things. You, Steve Moskowitz and Moskowitz LLP, really, that's huge relief to allow a small business person to concentrate on building the business. Let Moskowitz actually do the rest.
Absolutely. It's like you wouldn't change the oil in your own car. Let somebody else do it, and you can concentrate on business. That's why this is so much more complex than changing the oil in your car. You don't do it. And sometimes a small business owner just needs somebody to talk to. It's not like a giant Fortune 500 where you can talk with colleagues and you get help and there's all kinds of people around. If you have a small business, a lot of times that's all you, and you don't know. And sometimes you have a situation where it's just good to talk to somebody. Oh yeah, that's a common problem. Here's how you handle it. Oh yeah, a lot of times people do that, and that's a mistake because of so and so. And that can be just a phone call. A phone call can, it's like calling your doctor and he says, no, don't take the aspirin and the medicine or it'll eat a hole in your stomach. That phone call is really valuable.
Call Stephen. You can make that phone call so easily. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. I just know so many people who are beginning businesses in the new year. And as we ramp up and tax season, this is it. I mean, it's not far away. Steve can be a great asset to you to help you get that business started, get all your ducks in a row. And as we've said, there are actual opportunities to make money from the government. Excuse me, make money from the government as well. Even as
Absolutely.
I say that, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com, MoskowitZ, MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, let's talk next hour. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Kim.
All right, Steve Moskowitz, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah. Right on, right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Well, staying at home might not be a bad idea. Now, with the next couple of days being informed by storminess. If you missed it, Spencer Christian was with us off the top of the show and paints a pretty scary picture for a lot of California for the next couple of days. Not scary if you stay in, hopefully. I would encourage you to smash the like button if you're watching in replay. Just hit us with a thumbs up. It's that easy. It's free. And somebody in the chat, before I get to Kim's news, someone in the chat asked about how to make a contribution. Did you see that? This is how sad it is. I have to pay attention to all of that now because we're desperate to keep things afloat here,
I didn't see it, but I can tell you how to do it.
Hello,
Super
Mark. How
easy.
do I? Oh, there it is. Visit themarkthompsonshow.com and click contribute. Hello, Mark. How do I donate money to you and the rest of the YouTube shows?
Yes.
And is that Lanale? I guess it is. Again, Kim has it. themarkthompsonshow.com.
Super easy.
You'll click contribute. It'll take you to that page. When you go to themarkthompsonshow.com, it'll look like that. Okay.
There's 2 red buttons on the bottom. Boom,
Two
boom,
red
boom.
buttons. And it's funny. I was talking to Jefferson Graham, and he said we should make the buttons bigger, and we need to add another button. But so I mean, everybody's got, and he's not wrong. But it's just like one thing at a time. It's really. But this is pretty straightforward, man. I mean, come on, themarkthompsonshow.com. You click contribute and go to Patreon, or you can go to PayPal. Either one, and you give them a credit card. And it goes to Polaris Media or whatever our holding company is, and that will then they distribute the money for us. Or the process is so easy. And then at the end of every week, we compile all the names of people who've contributed any amount, and we post those names at the end of the show because we just want to show you that we're grateful to you. I don't think that's why you're contributing, to see your name, but. Otherwise, we would just do a 2-hour show with people's names scrolling and you pay $2 or whatever it is to get your name on there. We do it because we want to show you that we thank you and that we appreciate you. And then we also will compile some of the larger donations and we'll give you special shout outs. Will we get back to super stickers and super chats? Yes, but it could be another month. I've been in YouTube hell every day. I'm with them. Hours, not just 1 hour, hours. 3.5 hours 2 days ago. Yesterday was 2.5 hours. It's crazy. And then they say they're going to do something and they don't. So that's our state. So that's how we like you to go to themarkthompsonshow.com and make a contribution. Now, next hour, again, you've got John Rothmann weighing in on the GOP and their fractured coalition. You have Shadoe Stevens, the voice of the show, and a walk through his life, which has been an interesting one in the world of Hollywood and in the world of show business. And next, Albert, are we going to do this? We're going to review my KTLA appearance?
Yeah, I think Tony got the footage, and we'll just have fun watching through that.
Okay, we'll watch a little bit. We'll do a little Mystery Science Theater. I did the morning show on the #1 morning show in Los Angeles yesterday, so I could get the word out about the show.
I watched it.
Oh, did you? Well, maybe
Yeah.
some thoughts. Save them because I was getting a
Oh.
lot of tips from the audience and things I should have said, and
Oh,
you know,
whatever.
uh,
Everyone's a critic.
yeah, well, that's for sure. But they're not wrong always. Sometimes the audience has a lot of I don't know. Anyway, so we'll get to all of that as we continue. Smash the like button if you would. Hit us with a thumbs up. Come on. And Kim's news next, and then we'll get into that. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's get right into it because this storm moving in already to the Bay Area, hitting us hard this afternoon. The flood threat extremely high, especially the afternoon and evening hours. Strong winds gusting 40 to 60 miles per hour are expected to cause trees to come down. This is a picture from SF Gate of flooding in the town of Guerneville in Sonoma County in 2019. I put it up because the National Weather Service is already projecting that the Russian River, which you can see here, that broke its banks a couple of years ago, will likely flood again on Friday. Many rivers.
That's such a touch and go thing always with the Russian River. We just don't realize it because it's dry for so many months, and then we get a period like this. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I just it brings back chills. That would in the 80s they used to, back when you were just a child, Kim. I used to have to go out that way, and
I actually have been out that way covering the flooding for Station X as well, and I've seen it where the water seeps into all the properties surrounding this river, and it's a big deal. And it looks like that is going to happen again on Friday, likely, but also many rivers, creeks, streams across the state will likely break their banks this week. So be prepared for flooding. Something that we don't talk about a lot. I just put this picture in at the last minute, but I think it's really important to talk about it. This picture's from the Press Democrat, and they talk about beach hazards, very large breaking waves, 20 to 30 feet. At the bottom, they say, avoid tide pooling, stay off the coastal rocks and jetties, avoid uh, hanging out at the beach at all, stay a safe distance from the surf. You always hear about something happening at the beach. Somebody's going out there, somebody's doing something. This is serious. We've talked about staying off the roadways, stay off the beaches as well. And if you live near the coast, take the precautions because the beach is going to get pounded as well. Let's go straight to what's going on in Washington, D.C. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy again falling short in his bid to be the next speaker. McCarthy failed to secure enough votes today during the fourth round of voting. 4 times, his colleague said. Republicans appear to be in a
never been
deadlock.
anything like this.
A faction of conservatives blocking McCarthy for a second day. They argue new leadership is necessary. Several members voted for Florida's Byron Donalds today instead. I have a picture of Mr. Donalds. And this is important because while Donalds only got a fraction of the votes, I think maybe he got 20 votes as opposed to McCarthy, he voted for himself after previously voting for McCarthy. So that's interesting.
What? Yeah, well, I mean, you got to believe in yourself.
Yesterday, the alternate candidate voted for McCarthy, not himself, but Mr. Donalds decided to vote for himself. So.
Yeah, Jordan, when they're talking about Jordan doesn't want it, Jim Jordan, but it's pretty crazy.
We've never seen anything like it before.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
I know.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
Kind of true. It sort of is unprecedented. Anyway, go ahead, Kim.
Well, at least for the last 100 years, this is the first time that the speaker hasn't been decided on vote 1. Former Pope Benedict, you can see him there at the left, is being laid to rest tomorrow. Pope Francis praised Benedict as a great master of religious teaching during his general audience.
Screen grab from the Two Popes show on HBO.
Yeah,
Didn't they have that show? Two Popes. Yeah.
Pope and our 2 popes on a rope.
So it's the guy on the left is the guy who just passed away. Right?
Francis, I think, is on the right. Yeah.
Okay.
So Benedict is lying in state for a third and final day of public viewing. He died Saturday at the age of 95. He became the first pope to resign in 600 years. Said, I'm old, I'm done. That's it. So he'll be laid to rest tomorrow.
Nobody has ever put something like this together.
Oh, that's right. And the first one to resign is like, that's true. There's never been
anything like this.
Well, there has been something like this. We've seen it over and over again for the last several months. Salesforce, the latest Bay Area company to do layoffs. They're laying about 10% of their staff off in their latest round of job cuts. They also say they're going to reduce their real estate footprint. I don't know how they plan to do that when they have that massive Salesforce tower, but okay, do what you got to do. I don't know. Yeah.
Are they big? They're big into real estate. I guess they are.
Yeah. Well,
But you're
not
right. I
anymore.
mean, they're pretty much they're pretty much committed to the
You would
tower.
think, right? Like, how are you going to get rid of
Right.
that? That's
Anyway.
kind of, there you go. This is Jeremy Renner, stars from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sending their best wishes to Jeremy Renner. He was recently injured after a snowplow ran him over while he was attempting to help a stranded family member stuck in the snow near his house in Tahoe. The Thor actor Chris Hemsworth wished Renner a speedy recovery. Chris Pratt said, "Continued prayers your way," etc. I wanted to show you this other picture of him, though. He tweeted a picture yesterday from the hospital. So you can
Jeez.
see his face is all banged up. He had a
Oh my
chest,
God.
blunt
That is
chest injury, and the
really hot.
snowplow ran over his leg. So yeah.
It's not hot. Yes, I'll tell you that the nature of the incident, the specifics of the accident, I wasn't aware of. Courtney actually filled me in on it. I mean, the snowplow literally ran over him, over his chest, as you say. I mean, it was you can't conceive of being run over by your own snowplow, but
I think
sadly,
it ran over his leg, and then he hit his chest. But they say he survived because someone made a tourniquet for his leg. There was a doctor at the scene, and that
Oh,
person
wow.
quickly fashioned a tourniquet and saved his life. He's already had 2 surgeries, and here he is in the hospital. But the fact that he posted this, I think, is a really good sign. If you're awake and alert enough to post a picture, it's like, okay, you're going to be all right. At least
Yeah.
I hope so. But he's pretty banged up, Mr. Renner. I hope he recovers quickly.
yeah.
General Motors, America's top automaker, the Detroit car maker, reclaiming the title. Woohoo! After selling more than 2 million vehicles in the U.S. last year.
There's
The
never
crown-
been anything like this.
Okay, well, I don't think
The crown was previously held by Toyota, which reported that it sold slightly less than GM last year and is down 9.6% from 2021.
Wow.
So there you have it. And
Yeah.
lastly,
Well,
I'm
it's a
sorry
very
to
good
put this
report.
pic-
I'm very impressed by this report, if I can just say that. It's very comprehensive.
Well, that we aim to please. Mark Thompson Show News Network. We don't slouch around back here.
I think it's impressive.
There's never been anything like
Well,
this.
I think
Hard at work.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
We bring the goods. There's a
Right.
former teacher in Washington State that's won a lawsuit over a MAGA hat. Eric Dodge wore a Make America Great Again hat to school training on multiple occasions and felt threatened by the school principal and others, he said, as a result. That led to a lawsuit, and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in his favor last week, arguing he wasn't wearing the hat around students or in the classroom. So he won the suit. Yeah, go ahead, put your hat on, do what you got to
Yeah.
do.
Wow.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve, who we adore, has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. So if you need help with your taxes, you've got to call Steve. It's 888-TAX-STEAL. It's also MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadoe Stevens, and this is the greatest radio show in the history of the world. The Mark Thompson Show. It's in all the record books. Look at it.
Smash it with your iron rod.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir. I see. Pretend nothing has happened and hope everything turns out all right in the morning.
It's fantastic.
It was great. I loved it.
There's never been anything like this.
Seriously, what the? Who is having that conversation?
We have processes and protocols and standards.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
No, no, no.
God bless America. The end.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What up, everybody? It is our big show for a Wednesday, and I have to say we are in the midst of a huge storm. And so as a result, we've kind of gravitated toward those updates. Also, the storm that's going on in Washington with the GOP unable to elect a speaker. That is political news, and John Rothmann joins us after the top of the hour. We'll review that. Yeah, I know. The storm, and then I related it to the storm in Washington. That's the kind of professionalism, ladies and gentlemen, that you can expect on this YouTube channel. It is the Mark Thompson Show. You need to please hit us with a thumbs up. It's a weird thing, but it helps us in YouTube when you smash that like button like a boss. And if you're new and you want one of the beautiful items behind me, the Mark Thompson tumbler is here. We also have the KJO and Exile t-shirt behind me, and I think they're discontinuing that at the end of this month. There is all of the magical Mark merch, and I will reiterate the special offer in a moment, but at first I want to show you all of those things. There's the beanie with the pom-pom. There's the long sleeve tee. There is the those are stickers, I believe. They're show stickers. There's the V-neck tee, which is always very, yes, for the springtime. Why not jump on it now? There's the beanie without the pom-pom. I have a throw pillow coming in the mail now. By the way, I buy it just like everybody else right there on the website. GetMarkMerch.com. Oh, they still have the Christmas ornament up. There are two styles of Christmas ornament. They're the cards, playing cards. They say poker cards there. You can see those. Yeah. Yes, bring yourself the same great success with cards that Mark Thompson has had.
Yeah. Okay.
What? Yes, exactly what. And all the notepad, and there's the KJO and Exile t-shirt. As I say, they're going to discontinue that at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But the thing that they're offering a deal on is the hydration system. There's the hat, and there's the mug. All the different kind of phrases around the mug, and the big seller, by the way, is the pot holder. But this is the Mark Advanced Hydration System. You might call it a water bottle, but we call it the Advanced Hydration System. And
It's nice.
It is nice. It's stylish, first of all, and I don't mean to be superficial, but some of these various water bottles, not that stylish.
No, just a water bottle. This one's special.
This is special. It rocks the show logo, and I think the colors and against the white, I really love it. So you can get it at 20% off. All you have to do at checkout is put in the words, and Albert, please help me if I need it. Stay hydrated. Isn't that right, Albert?
Yeah, it's here on the screen.
Yeah. Okay, it's on the screen. Thank you. Enter
Albert, thank you.
Enter Stay Hydrated as the coupon code at checkout. So it'll ask you for a coupon code. You put in Stay Hydrated, and you get 20% off on the Advanced Hydration System. And Tony's kind of walking you through it right now. You can see as that's what it will look like.
Tony.
Yeah. So
How long is that going on, the sale?
Till Sunday. Sunday. So it's through the end of the week. Stay Hydrated is the coupon code at checkout. You get 20% off the Mark Thompson Show hydration system.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for participating in that. All that money goes to kind of keep the lights on here at the show, and it helps us out. So right on.
Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, there are remaining moments in this half hour before John Rothmann will talk GOP, Shadoe Stevens next hour as well. I want to go over what I got as various reviews by my own audience. I like to think of people having their feelings reflect rooting for me and their best feelings toward the show, wanting to help. But there was criticism of one sort or another. I saw it on the chat yesterday. So let's watch a little bit of the appearance on the #1 morning show in Los Angeles by a long way. So I don't want to screw this up. This is Tony. Do you have it? We can start and stop it as we need to.
Do you, by saying big weather on the air here once, does that carry you for the whole year?
I mean, I thought atmospheric river, the reference and the quantitative precipitation forecast, you can throw in that kind of thing. Before you know it, you've got cred. Am I right?
You don't know what you're saying, but you got credit. We can talk millibar charts all day. The forecast bright for the longtime TV weatherman who's traded his clicker for one of those big professional radio microphones. It's our friend Mark Thompson, part of our 2023 policy of inviting mutual friends of mine and Frank's on the show. We did it Friday, and we're doing it here.
Nice.
All right, we hear you on the radio locally all the time. And then you had a daily.
I look like, really, I have a Liberace level of makeup on. It is really true, right? But, but thank God for it, I'm on to say, because without it, you just don't want to see. Now, what you see now is me without any makeup, so you can see why they pour the makeup on pretty heavily. Go ahead. Sorry, Tony.
Show on KGO. And KGO, if I'm not mistaken, not dissimilar to KFI, the big giant station in San Francisco.
The blowtorch of Northern California. It was like the KFI of Northern California. And then one day, they literally, with minutes before my show was to start, they said, hey, we're changing the format of the station and it's going away. I mean, it's a crazy thing. In radio, it's not too extraordinary for weird stuff to happen. You kind of sleep with one eye open, I think, even if you're doing well. So when the general manager and the program director call, it's going to be it's not going to be. I even said to them, they said, yeah, today is a rough day. So it was a weird thing. They had me actually do 9 minutes of the show. And then I just locked out with an ID and boom, the station changed.
You signed off KGO.
Yeah, it's a legendary station. I know. And it's weird. Like when I go around YouTube, which is where my new project is, we'll talk about in a second, but I see all these references and actual recordings of me. Had I known that I was going to live in that sort of space.
Well, what did you talk about for those 9 minutes?
I was literally just a jabbering. I mean, I just wasn't thinking about what I was saying. And they made it clear, you're not to make any reference to the format change. You're not to in any way indicate to the audience that there's a change coming. You do your normal show. And I even took a run. I said, well, I could spin it as a good thing. Like, hey, there's something exciting happening at KGO. And maybe, so I really tried to, they said, nope, we've thought about it. You're just to lock it out. So that's what I did. And it was just weird. It left the audience angry. And the audience feels, hey, we've given you loyalty for decades. And this is how you go out. So it was a weird moment.
So what did they go to when
They went to sports gambling, gaming. So they're counting on gambling becoming legal here, right? Which may be something, that's in the offing.
All right, so stop this right now, Tony. First of all, I'd like to speak to the coat and tie thing. The reason I'm not in a coat and tie, I'm getting a lot of that in the chat, of course, is that you want a level of, if I were a presenter on the show, I would wear a coat and tie, but you want a level of looseness to, I just think, kind of reflect contemporary look. Am I wrong, Kim? You're
no. I thought, I was thinking, I just watched I Walk the Line. I'm on a Tyler Hilton kick, so I'm watching Tyler Hilton movies, and I was thinking you kind of looked like Johnny Cash, all in black, kind of a cool presence there at the table.
Well, Mindy Lee agrees with you. You look great. Love the black on black, she says.
Yeah.
So that
you look like the talent.
It's
Mark.
YouTube formal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a job interview. I'm not going for that. I mean, a coat and tie, I felt this was, a clean look, but without the coat and tie. So I pushed back on the coat and tie thing. I will say this, though. Wow, I look tired. I look really tired. That must be as you get older, you just start to look tired. I don't notice it. Like when you look yourself in the mirror, you don't see the bags under your eyes. Man, I am tired. I don't think
I look pretty good. I'm not.
You're very sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway,
I think that weather guy should be fearing for his job right now.
No, he's terrific, and I do not want to do that ever again. I don't want to stand there in front of a map ever again. Although I have to say that when I'm there and you're in the environment, it's pretty easy to fall back into it. It's not. It's just, but anyway, go ahead, Tony. We'll block it out here with the rest.
They talk about the spreads, and they call it's K spread. I think is the
Okay.
By the way,
How clever.
like the worst name ever. But you did something really interesting. So obviously there's this loyal audience, and you have said to that audience, "Follow me here."
Right. First of all, I felt bad for, the show is made up of me, and it's made up of a news person. She's got two kids, and, there are people who are involved. The producer, I said, we're all going to go to YouTube. I'm taking this whole show to YouTube. We have an audience. I know we've got an audience. So the problem was I couldn't tell them on the air on KGO we were going there, so they've had to sort of find out about it. But in 2 months, we've found 8,000, a little over 8,000 subscribers. Right. Wow, and so it's the Mark Thompson Show. It's called the same name it had on the radio is what it has now, and I've just moved it to YouTube. So yes, that's been successful. And what's interesting is that audience is loyal and they want to keep you going. So they donate money and it's a weird thing to hustle. You guys don't realize it. And I didn't realize it until I got in there. I go, don't forget to subscribe to the Mark Thompson Show.
It's like pass the plate.
And right, exactly. You feel like you're making a telethon pitch every day.
And how much does it cost to subscribe to the Mark Thompson?
Well, no, it's free. The show is free.
Okay.
It's called the Mark Thompson Show. It's on YouTube and it's free. But people still go to the Patreon site and support the show through PayPal donations and on YouTube.
And you still get great guests. Some of our other mutual friends still appear on the show. And
we have got great political commentators. Pulitzer Prize winner is going to be on today. David K. Johnston. He's a brilliant, best-selling author, columnist. We do politics. We also do pop culture. And anybody that you guys can feed me on the show, I'm happy to.
So are you sitting in front of a microphone every day, and how many hours, or is it
just it's 2 hours, and it's exactly like the radio show was, 10 to noon. I've really tried to replicate the energy, the vibe of the radio show. So it's exactly what you're talking about. When you look in on the show on YouTube, it's as though you're watching a radio show being done.
Mm-hmm. There's also merch. It is the Mark T.
Stop right here for a second, if you would, Tony, and we'll finish up. But so that was the chunk where you really get everything out. Yeah. Now, I will tell you what I agreed with as a criticism or a thing that I wish I'd mentioned that I didn't. Excuse me. I should have mentioned that the community on YouTube is a really cool surprise, but I'm so busy trying to get the mention in, and you know what it's like, Kim, you're trying to in a very limited time. And so I'm trying to service all of these various things I have to do, all these different masters that I have to serve in that moment.
You want the conversation to flow freely. You don't want to have to feel like you're just trying to shove everything in. I thought it was great.
No, all right. Well, then thank you for that. Let's continue with the merch mention because it's cool that they got that in.
As a financial matter, does merch work?
You can make money from it. And, I started the merch when I was on the radio and I donated all the proceeds to animal rescue. Right. Then we came to this place where we desperately need money. And I told everybody, hey, we'll get to the animals in a minute. Right. So that's you can make money on merch.
So if somebody wants to listen today, obviously they're going to watch our show and simultaneously listen to yours. How do they find it?
It's on YouTube. It's called The Mark Thompson Show. And you can watch this show, our friends at KTLA, and then get to my show later, because that's the thing about YouTube. It can, a lot of people watch it on replay. It lives all day.
So
it lives
live, and it's also
live, and you
recorded.
can visit it. We break out certain segments as well. So,
it's for your convenience.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can watch it anytime.
Very good.
But it's live 10 to noon. Thank you for having me in. Yeah. Sam, really cool of you. Frank, I love you. You make a mean drink. You guys, I'm huge fans. I really am. So.
Thank you.
Very good. It's all right. So well. Quick, Mark, take us to break. With your big announcer voice.
Way more of the magic here on the KTLA Morning News. Don't go anywhere.
I'll be honest with you. I feel like I should have hit that something funnier or pumped up my announce voice for that. I
caught you at the end there. But
exactly. I think I could have made it like a big announce, ladies and gentlemen, we continue. I could have done something.
It's all right.
To make it kind of fun, but
it was great. I loved it.
Anyway,
I think you second guess it too much. It was good.
All right. Thank you. Anyway, that was it. Tony, you any criticism? What did you feel?
was fine.
Oh, he's like
there
the
was a
Simon
pause there,
Cowell
Mark.
of the
There was
group.
definitely a
really
pause.
didn't like it.
It was fine.
Oh, Tony really didn't like it.
I'm joking. Come on now.
Oh, that's
fine.
good.
That's their new set looks so good at KTLA.
God,
So.
and I'll tell you, you walk in there, man, it feels big time. That place is making money. They got tons of people. And as I mentioned yesterday, I know a bunch of them because they worked on my old show, Guinness, or they worked over, at Fox 11, where I was for so long. And so one way or the other, or you saw them out on the street. But I told you yesterday about the reporter that came up to me after the show from Berkeley, right? I think I told you that story about the fact that he said, I just want you to know I was going to Berkeley and we got a tour of Kron. I didn't tell you this yesterday.
I don't think you mentioned this.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
He said, I was going to Berkeley and we got a tour of Kron and we met you. And he said, and I was so excited to meet you because you were a weather guy at Kron, but you were more than a weather guy. This is him speaking. Okay. So, slightly self-serving story. And he said, and you were doing more, you're doing radio and you were just doing all of these different things. And I just really liked you on television. He said, and I'll tell you, you're the reason I got into this business.
Oh, that's so
This
nice
guy is
to hear that. Yeah.
He's got a 30-year career going himself, or probably closing in on 30 years at KTLA. So it was really, that was really
very
sweet. Cool. That was really cool. Yeah. So there you go.
Those are nice touching words. Then you're just feeling out the new room, feeling out the green.
Yeah.
Like, this seems pretty nice. I might just get comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to cry, but it was close to cry-worthy. So, all right. Kim's News, Rothmann on the GOP, and Shadoe Stevens. All of that in the next hour. Smash the like button like a boss as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Ooh, that sounds echoey. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. We're talking about the storms today, and this is there's a lot going on already. We've got the first round of the storm already hitting California. The storm is considered extremely dangerous. The first round causing flooding on roadways already. The second wave of the storm set to arrive this afternoon and this evening with even heavier rain. So we are in for a real hard time. I'm looking at the Cron 4 website. They're already putting up some warnings here. At about 10 this morning, the Santa Cruz County issued an evacuation warning for one neighborhood along Weston Road. They are already getting heavy rain, runoff, threatening closure to main access roads. They say they want people in this neighborhood to be prepared to be isolated for a long period of time. They're considering evacuating the area because they say emergency vehicles won't be able to get into it. So that's why they're putting an evacuation warning in place for the area along Weston Road. Crow Canyon Road in San Ramon already closed in both directions. Limited access there. The flooding in the roadway is happening already. And we're going to get, again, hit even harder with even more rain coming in. Again, coastal danger as well, 20 to 30-foot waves. It's going to be big. The former president and vice president are calling all Republican members to make Kevin McCarthy Speaker of the House. Before House members came back to session, Donald Trump took his Truth Social platform to say, vote for Kevin, close the deal. Mike Pence said McCarthy's leadership and vision led to the new Republican majority. So you got Trump and Pence saying, vote for McCarthy. Still a lot of jobs out there. The Labor Department said today there were nearly 10.5 million available positions in November. That's just slightly down from October's number and higher than what analysts had been predicting. Donations are nearing the $6 million mark for Damar Hamlin's GoFundMe page. What started as a fundraiser for a local toy drive and had collected about $3,000 over the last 2 years, had received donations from around the world since Monday night when he collapsed on the field. The Buffalo Bills safety remains in critical condition at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center after going into cardiac arrest during the Bills game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And no injuries are reported after a U.S. base near Syria was the target of a rocket attack this morning. The attack comes a day after the third anniversary of a U.S. drone strike killing an Iranian military leader. The Syrian Democratic Forces found a third unfired rocket at the site where the rockets were initially fired from. And Japan is offering to pay families to relocate out of Tokyo to the countryside. Starting in April, families are eligible to receive about $7,700 per child to move to less populated areas in order to help revitalize the countryside and boost the falling birth rate. The city currently has a population of about 37 million people. And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve. It's 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Oh, I see. Sorry. You didn't hear me say I'm excited? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Kim. Nice report. I mute my mic so that while I'm, knocking around here during your report, Kim, it doesn't become distracting. You understand. But
I was so riveted by your performance on the KTLA morning show.
That's the kind of, why can't you say stuff like that, Tony?
That I didn't have, I dropped the ball on that report. I didn't have any pictures in there, and then, I had to put it together on the fly. So hopefully it worked out.
Oh, wow. I didn't think it was bad, actually. It's funny that you're being self-critical.
Everything is going extremely well.
I think it is going well.
It's kind of that day on the Mark Thompson Show. We're all
we're tough on ourselves.
Yeah.
But the audience is also tough on us, which is so it's tough all around.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
Okay. John Rothmann is going to join us. There's been some delay in getting him the link, but we'll have it for him in a moment. What's the story,
I
Albert?
spoke to him on the phone, so he'll be joining.
Okay, he'll be joining in just a second. What we want to talk to John Rothmann about is what's happening in Washington.
Did you hear the story that I just told you about Trump and Pence?
Yeah, that they both say, hey, vote for McCarthy, and everybody else, it's going the other direction, actually. So maybe you could rally some pictures of, of Trump, Pence, or whatever, or McCarthy for that matter, Albert. I think Kim had him in her last hour, but we'll talk to John Rothmann about what's happening with a fractured GOP coalition. And here's one thing that I think is seldom talked about. There is a sense, and I have this sense also, that the old adage, which is Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line, which suggests the ideology of Democratic politics is what carries the day. They don't have the cultish reverence for party that you'll find in the GOP. That's the feeling, okay? That's where that adage comes from. Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line, because they've always been able to line up behind even troubled candidates like Donald Trump, for example, right? They excitedly fell into this guy. It was a transactional relationship that they had. Vote for him, and he'll get us the Supreme Court appointments we want, and he will reshape America for Christians, a lot of people felt, or he'll help the justices reshape America in that way. We'll get back to making America great again, whatever it might be. That's just the one example of Trump. There are plenty of other examples as well. But what you're seeing now is not a Republican Party which is falling in line, right? You're seeing now a Republican Party where there is legitimate fracture here. There are legitimate questions as to whether McCarthy can put together a coalition. That's very much in, runs up against that general notion that we have that the Republicans automatically just lock arms and move forward.
He was defeated in a 5th round of voting again.
And the numbers that you were mentioning, Kim, in terms of the votes that he was getting in these successive vote totals, they're going down. They're not going up. So without any further delay, let's get an opinion that I think really matters, a guy who really can offer perspective. He's John Rothmann, everybody. Hey, John Rothmann.
Happy New Year, Mark. Happy New Year to all our listeners and to Kim McAllister.
Hi.
Yes, how about that? A special Kim McAllister shout.
Kim, how are you?
So I would welcome you to this conversation. I just kicked it off by saying, the old adage, Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. I'm starting to wonder about that. They're not falling in line in this case, and maybe the GOP is a changed party in large measure. I wonder if you can speak to this issue and maybe have some insights into this GOP leadership and what might actually happen.
It's a circular firing squad right now. What you have very clearly are 20 Republicans who are saying they will not vote for the leader, Mr. McCarthy. And what that means is that McCarthy cannot achieve the number of votes to become leader. Now, we are now in a situation for the first time since, 100 years to be precise, with Speaker Gillette. And let me assure you, I was not covering that battle 100 years ago, where the Republicans have a real quandary. The holdouts, the 20, and there are 20 now, and one McCarthy voter just voted present on the last ballot. So he's losing strength. But the Republicans in the end will have to come to a conclusion. Now, they've started the next round of voting. There does not seem to me, based on what I've been watching on the screen up till this moment, any change, which would suggest that McCarthy is an ill-fated potential speaker. That is to say, he will not have the votes unless some miraculous change takes place. And remember, all he would need of those 20, or 21 now, all he would need are 4 members to vote for him, and he'd be speaker.
How does he go about, Kim was mentioning the Trump and Pence push to try to get the GOP behind him. How does he go about making further concessions, I guess? I mean, he's already made some pretty substantial concessions.
There are no more concessions. There are no more concessions he can make. And the reality is that the former president and the former vice president have no impact on what's going to happen in the House of Representatives. This is an internal matter. And the idea that Donald Trump has made a statement just shows the impotence, if you will, of a former president. I went back. There are 2 books I would recommend to listeners. I'll hold them up. One is Mr. Speaker by Booth Mooney, which came out in the 60s. And the other is by Dick and Lynn Cheney, called Kings of the Hill. These are older books, of course, but they are books that tell the history of the House of Representatives. We haven't seen this situation in 100 years. And there's no way out unless, and I'm going to say this very clearly, unless McCarthy bows out, in which case the Republicans will then have to choose an alternative. The alternative appears to me to be Steve Scalise. Now, Scalise has other issues which he would have to confront, but you've really got to get those 20 renegade Republicans. Let me contrast this with Nancy Pelosi's leadership. Nancy Pelosi also had a narrow vote. She had the squad on her left, and she was able to get the squad in line. But it is clear that the 20 who are holding out, plus the one who has now voted present, are not interested in a compromise. So it's a very complex problem. Remember, the House cannot even come together. They can't meet. These are representatives elect because you can't swear them in until you have a speaker. On top of that, when the Senate goes back into session in a few weeks, what you're going to see is that everything is blocked because the House has to initiate certain legislation to send to the Senate. Not only that, just so everyone knows it, in case you're worried about your paycheck, unless the House gets its act together, checks can't be issued for a whole variety of issues. So this really is a very dramatic moment, and it is an ultimate test for Kevin McCarthy. Let me be clear about one thing. Kevin McCarthy has pumped millions of dollars into House races across the country. He has campaigned in virtually every district where he had a chance of making a difference. Kevin McCarthy as a leader. The 20 are repudiating him as a leader. So the question is, how long will the others hold on? And this could go on for a while, or if McCarthy bows out, or if there were a break in the vote and Republicans just saying enough is enough. But so far, McCarthy, at least when I watch him on screen, thanks to C-SPAN, he looks very confident about his position. And there is no rush. There really isn't. They've got another week before they have to sort of sort things out. So this could go on for quite some time.
Do you see McCarthy bowing out, though? I don't know if the ego will let him do that.
He has spent years trying to be Speaker of the House of Representatives. Yeah. I don't think he is going to give up his ambition. I just don't see it. I think he's going to hang in as long as he can. It will require either his, as you pointed out, Kim, his own admission that he can't make it, or it will require his own supporters to go to him and say, Kevin, it's done. It's over. But in the meantime, as a political junkie, let me assure you, I am enjoying every minute of this. You realize when you look at the picture on the screen, well, of course, you're not listening to the Mark Thompson program, you can see every member of the House of Representatives sitting there. I'm learning about people I never knew existed. So this, to me, is it's a negative for the Republicans, though, because they can't show leadership. Hakeem Jeffries, the new Democratic Party leader, has won on every ballot, but he needs to have a majority in order to assume the speakership, and that's not going to happen. By the way, one other quick point, Mark, before your next question. I do not see a coalition between Democrats and Republicans on this matter. The Democrats are firmly committed, absolutely, to the ascension of Jeffries, if it's possible, and the Republicans are equally committed to McCarthy. So it would require a major shakeup. It just isn't going to happen.
Eric says George Santos could lie and say he's a Democrat. Might get some votes for speaker.
By the way, you understand that Santos has not been sworn in, but the people who vote are the people who will be coming into the new Congress. Did you notice, though, the very poignant picture of Santos sitting alone, nobody coming up to him, nobody going near him, which reminded me of another photograph of the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Joseph W. Martin Jr., who was overthrown by the Republican caucus in 1959, in January of 59. And after his defeat, this man who had led the Republicans for 20 years was seated all alone. Nobody came up to see him. It was a very sad picture. But you will note, if you're watching C-SPAN or the other networks that are covering this, Nancy Pelosi is surrounded by Democrats who want to know what she thinks, because she has the institutional memory and the ability to analyze, I think, better than anybody in the House of Representatives.
Well, she never would have brought to vote something that she, didn't know. She was a lead pipe cinch to have the votes to win. I mean,
she wouldn't have a choice. Remember, this is a new Congress. And so even if Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, well, let's put it this way, even if Nancy Pelosi were still the leader, there's nothing she can do. The Speaker does not preside. These are clerks that are presiding, because there is no constituted House leadership. So it's really a marvelous, a constitutional, fascinating moment for someone like me to watch. And Mark, what you've just demonstrated by your comment is there is no way out unless McCarthy bows out, or among the 20 who are holding out, there is a break. All he needs is 5 of those votes, 4, I guess, technically, but I'm going to give him 5 for the wiggle room, to be elected speaker.
There is, first of all, smash the like button for John Rothmann.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Do it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Yeah, the like button for John. I want to quickly talk about the specifics of alternatives, John, because as loathsome a character, by the way, somebody in the chat said that we ding the word loathe. We've never dinged the word loathe. Loathe is not a ding word, and loathsome is not a ding word. So how dare they suggest that? But back to the point, he is a loathsome guy, I think, McCarthy. He's sold his soul. He represents things even before he sold his soul that I find reprehensible. But that aside for now, oddly, the alternatives might be worse if you're a Democrat or if you're a progressive-minded person. The alternatives to McCarthy make him look mainstream.
Yeah, the Democrats don't matter. Do you understand? They are the minority. The only thing that has to happen to move this forward is for the Republicans to agree on someone. Look, did you see Bobbert making a nomination? I mean, it's astounding to me, incomprehensible. But in the House of Representatives, whether you are a liar or a bigot, doesn't matter. Everybody has the same vote. And in order for somebody to become a leader, or if you will, in this case, to become speaker, it has to be done on the House floor. Members of Congress have to be present, and there has to be a majority. And without a majority, this could go on and on.
I get to, and what I guess what I was getting at is I know they're not voting Democrats, but you're still rooting and watching, as you have suggested, and as you've also suggested with the Boberts of the world and the Gateses of the world. You know, there's this sort of this planetary chaos within the congressional House, and I guess as I sit there rooting for someone, I'm thinking, gosh, I don't know who to root for, like who to hope for, you know, because I don't want McCarthy to get it. I love that they're in disarray, but the alternatives are also really bad.
There's no question about it, but that's what we get with the Republican majority. If you are a Republican, and there are a lot of Republicans listening to this broadcast, I'm sure, if you're a Republican, the odds are you've lined up with McCarthy. He's earned the speakership and the leadership over years of devoted service. But if you are someone who is somebody who supports the wacko wing of the Republican Party, then you're thrilled with what's happening. You don't care whether there's process. But again, I want to come back to something that you mentioned, and I think is really important. Neither Donald Trump nor Mike Pence has the political muscle to influence what's going to happen on the floor of the House of Representatives. It is going to require the House itself to figure out what could happen. Let me just throw out one other point. It has been mentioned by several that there is no requirement under the House rules for the Speaker of the House of Representatives to be a member of the House of Representatives. We have never had a non-member be elected Speaker, and it's not going to happen now. But when you're doing political commentary, as you and I do, as we all do, you throw out all of the potential possibilities. Somebody talked about Fred Upton, a former member of Congress, being brought back by the Republicans in order to be Speaker. It'll never happen, never. And the Democrats will never agree to it. So it's an interesting theoretical question, but not practical in any sense.
What do they want? What are the Republicans, the 20 Republicans that are holdouts, what are they holding out for? What do they want?
They want what they view as a true conservative. They want someone who they believe will be absolutely solid, a true conservative. And are they going to get that? We'll have to see. It doesn't look like it to me. They've nominated a second-term representative from the state of Florida as a contender. He's getting the same vote that the others have gotten. There is no viable alternative. And the Republican caucus, what I think will happen is the Republican caucus will meet once again. But you know, they met the other day. And the meeting of that Republican caucus was an absolute unmitigated disaster because people started yelling at each other, swearing at each other, the whole 9 yards. So the Republican holdouts are the critical factor for McCarthy. And he had hoped that Donald Trump and Mike Pence would have been able to work their magic. But I want to remind you again, members of the House are very proud of the fact that they make the decision. It's not dictated by anyone else. So we now also understand how important the House of Representatives is and its functioning is to the American Republic.
I'm just looking at the chat. How about Mitt Romney's a senator, right? So
yes.
He's not. You
and
can't.
Senators in no way can interfere in the business of the House.
That's not going to happen, John. This is John Smith who is texting in. Define true conservative. Of course, this is the big thing from Incognito. It's true. It's what I would have said was conservative years ago. I don't know what you say now. It's crazy, wacko. I still think that there's and I wonder about you, John, there's a strong sense of the religious right running a big part of the conservative movement in this country now. How do you feel about what a conservative is now? What does it mean?
It doesn't mean what it meant with Barry Goldwater or with Ronald Reagan. That's for sure. What we now have is a Republican Party that is deeply divided. Remember that according to the polls, if you want to believe the polls, 35 to 40% of Republicans still follow the lead of Donald Trump. It's astounding. But that is the simple reality. And so the Republican Party is completely dysfunctional. May I offer one other comment? I know we're running out of time, but I want to be clear about this. Last night, I listened to Sean Hannity. I listened with great care. And Hannity is supporting McCarthy. And he had Newt Gingrich on, the former Speaker of the House, who is also supporting McCarthy. And they are essentially downplaying what is happening now. And they're urging Republicans to unify behind, I guess, McCarthy. But it simply shows the deep divisions among the Republicans. And by the way, the influence of Donald Trump severely diminished. If anyone is damaged in all of this, it is Donald Trump. His endorsement of Kevin McCarthy has meant absolutely nothing. And his call to those 20 who are holding out has not changed a single vote. So if you are a former president of the United States, the last word you want to hear is impotence. And that is precisely what Donald Trump is feeling today.
It's interesting, though, John, and this in just the last 30 seconds, I would have said, and I might still say, but, as we discuss what a conservative is, if you're a Republican, your litmus test politically was, are you behind Trump or not? Was the election stolen? All this kind of thing. I mean, that really was the litmus test for some time. I don't know what it is now.
They don't know either, Mark. Yeah. They don't know either. They're not voting as conservatives or as Republicans. They are voting against a personality, Kevin McCarthy, who they simply do not like, cannot abide, and will not vote for. I don't know how Kevin McCarthy, he's made all kinds of concessions, but I think the concessions are over. And now the question is, does he have any leg to stand on? And that answer will come. And I'm glad to come back with you as the days progress, because I think this is one of the most dramatic and important moments in American history. Let me just quickly say as we close, read Kings of the Hill by Dick and Lynn Cheney or Mr. Speaker by Booth Mooney to get some sort of an image of what the dynamic is in the old days in the House, but that certainly doesn't apply today. But it's fun to read a little history.
We love visits with you. Let's do one next week, John. So appreciate it. Thank you. John Rothmann, everybody. Yeah. How about it for John Rothmann?
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now, how about it for Steve Moskowitz?
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, I know that we talked a lot about it for a long time, Steve Moskowitz, but I wonder if it's not worth revisiting ERC and government programs like it that offer actual money, grants to those.
Absolutely, Mark.
Yeah.
The federal government is giving away. That's right, giving away. It's not a loan, it's a grant. Giving away up to $26,000 for every employee that an employer had during the pandemic of 2020 and 2021, if you qualify. There's two different ways to qualify, and the law clearly says either or. One or the other will do. There's the easy way, certain drop in gross revenue. That's math. You're either there or you're not, nothing to think about. Unfortunately, so many firms, so many CPAs are stopping there and saying, well, if your gross revenue didn't go down enough, that's it, no ERC for you. Wrong. There's another method. It's more complex. It's a facts and circumstances method. Sometimes we have to have multiple meetings with clients and figure out, do you qualify? And if you do, then we can get you every penny that you'd get if you had the drop in gross revenue. And I've seen so many cases. Last year, we talked about, I had 3 in a row. I talked to a CPA who it boggled me. It was too much trouble for her to bother, so she left $100,000 on the table. To me, $100,000 is a lot of money.
Wow.
But that pales in the significance. We talked on your show about somebody else left $1 million on the table and somebody else left $1.5 million on the table. Just because they didn't bother to go ahead and say, well, I'm willing to do the work and see if you qualify. Not everybody qualifies, of course. But if you do qualify, oh my God, why would you want to leave that money on the table? And this is not going to last forever. And you're going to be really, really sorry one day if you find out you were entitled to a bunch of money. Your CPA told you weren't because of doing only 1 of 2 tests, and it's too late to get the money. So the bottom line is, if you had a business, let's talk. And even if somebody else told you, your CPA told, and remember, I was a CPA before, I was a tax attorney, so I'm familiar with that. If you didn't qualify because your gross revenue didn't drop enough, let's see if you satisfy the second test. If you do, let's go ahead and get every dollar to which you're legally entitled.
Yeah, I mean, it just is one of those things, though, that you can't navigate on your own necessarily. I mean, as you say, you knock around the internet and it may tell you one thing. You even go to another tax accountant who might have a, as we've talked about it, they're hatched overnight. When this ERC program came out, they go, hey, I can get you ERC money, I can get you ERC money. And then they vanish as quickly as they appeared. So, with Steve, you have a guy who's both a tax expert as a CPA and also a tax attorney. And he's been doing business, he and his firm, for over 30 years. You've heard his origin story. You know him. Feel free to call him and ask and take a look at your situation. It's 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also find him online, Moskowitz LLP, Moskowitz, MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, again, Happy New Year. Thanks for being here.
Happy New Year. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Right on. So we have
The Mark Thompson Show.
What we'll do a bit of news. And then we have Shadoe coming up. Is that the deal, Albert? That's the way it's going to go down?
Yeah. So quick news, and then we have the voice of the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, Shadoe Stevens, a man who's was Hollywood Squares, Dave's World, huge radio guy, brilliant creative mind. It's really, really cool. So
from one epic voice to the other.
Well, thank you very much, Albert, for saying.
Albert, thank you.
Yes, very, very nice. Smash the like button if you would for us. And if you want to support the show, you go to themarkthompsonshow.com. And again, subscribe to the show. It helps us with subscribe. If you're just visiting, subscribe. It costs nothing. And that also helps us in the algorithms. But if you want to support the show with any financial contribution, themarkthompsonshow.com, click contribute. And there are the ways, Patreon and PayPal. Kim's News, Shadoe Stevens, much to do. Thanks for being here as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. We are in for it. It is the rain around the Bay Area.
Do you feel it?
How dare you run that over Kim's news? Sorry,
I feel
Kim.
it. I feel it bigly.
I apologize.
What?
I apologize.
Whoever is producing this thing.
Yes, can we just
whoever is producing this thing has no idea.
And I
what
want to
they're doing.
apologize to my bad. Isn't that what I say? My bad, right?
My bad. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, so the storm hitting California today is already bringing flooding. We're seeing it in the East Bay, part of the Santa Cruz area as well. Millions of Californians bracing for what weather experts are calling a truly brutal storm. This one may include loss of life, they're saying. The National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center is calling it a bomb cyclone that they're expecting to hit the Bay Area today. Forecasters warning up to 10 inches of rain could drench coastal mountain ranges. The Weather Service issuing an excessive rainfall warning for about 5 million people across northern and central California. Now, forecasters expect widespread flooding at lower elevations, heavy snow, and strong winds across the Sierra Nevada mountains that could make travel treacherous. House Republicans still at a stalemate in their efforts to elect a speaker. Kevin McCarthy of California failing to get enough votes during a fifth round of voting a few minutes ago as conservative defectors threw their support behind Byron Donalds of Florida. Meanwhile, Democrats remain united behind Hakeem Jeffries of New York to replace Nancy Pelosi. The outgoing Speaker of the House commenting on the battle to succeed her today. Pelosi says she's connecting what's happening now to the Capitol attack, which happened almost 2 years ago. She says there's a direct correlation here. Former President Trump, meanwhile, is saying the House Republicans really need to get the vote for Speaker over with. There he is with Kevin McCarthy, former President Trump. And he's saying, look, You guys got to vote. You got to get this done. In an interview with Fox News, Trump said the GOP House members opposing Kevin McCarthy's bid for House Speaker are playing a dangerous game. The election for a new speaker has gone now 5 rounds for the first time in more than a century. And President Biden is touting the big infrastructure bill for helping with upgrades of a Kentucky bridge. President Biden and Senator Mitch McConnell visited Covington today to spotlight the upgrades to the Brent Spence Bridge. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, along with Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown and Governor Mike DeWine, also accompanied the president. It was a big photo op there today. Let's go to the Ukraine. This is some pictures of bombing damage in this war-torn country, but Ukraine is dismissing claims that a cell phone use by Russian troops led to a strike that killed as many as 89 to 400 Russian troops. Moscow appearing to blame the newly mobilized soldiers for compromising their location on Wednesday by using cell phones. A spokesperson for Ukrainian armed forces said the forces took advantage of Russian troops' inability to covertly deploy. And Facebook parent company Meta being slapped with fines totaling more than $400 million by Ireland's privacy regulator. The Irish Data Protection Commission found Meta violated European privacy laws. The fines come after lengthy investigations by the Irish regulator that started back in 2018. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work pretty much for everybody, for individuals, for businesses, whatever you got, Steve can handle it. Give him a call at 888-TAX-STEAL. You can see on the bottom of your screen, the website is moskowitzllp.com. Check it out and start taking the load off of your mind with tax season approaching. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Rated will pierce the price on videotape. Watch this. TDK T120 videotape at $5.99. Fuji T120 videotape, $5.99, less $1 manufacturer rebate. And Sony L500 videotape at $4.99.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I couldn't be more excited. The new year begins with, Kim, this is something of a major announcement, I think, wouldn't you say?
Agree.
Absolutely.
Major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show.
I think it is a major announcement. He is the voice of our show. He is a brilliant treasure of Hollywood and of the great void that is everything. He's Shadoe Stevens, everybody. Come on.
Stop. Too much.
Oh, Shadoe, if you only knew, you are such a part of our DNA on this show. You've always been a sound guy and a radio dude. You reinvented essentially the way radio was done in Southern California. I'm talking about with these super inventive ads. You ultimately ended up running an ad agency. You started your own ad agency, and you were really crushing that for a long time. So your roots are in that world, in audio creativity and that game.
Yeah, well, it just started when I was 10 years old, and I started making things on my dad's tape recorder by cutting them together. And I thought, oh, I can tell stories. This is so great. Oh, look, my watch is talking to me. Thank you.
That's on our end, I think, some notification thing. That world, though, led you to radio. You programmed radio stations in Southern California. And once you were in Hollywood, you just took full advantage. I mean, we know you from your on-camera career, from your career as a voice guy, right? You just got here and, splashed around.
I came to KHJ. It was the highlight of my life. I came from North Dakota to Arizona to Boston. I did really well in Boston. So I came out here to work for KHJ, the greatest radio station in history. And I started doing television. I was Steve Allen's sidekick. And so when it came time, I was supposed to get the next full-time position at KHJ. And they they wouldn't give it to me because they didn't know whether I wanted to be in radio or television. Excuse me? Excuse me? This is national television where we promote your station. We can't be certain. Well, just you don't have to give me a raise or anything. Just guarantee me in the next opportunity that I will get the next full time. And they go, no, we can't do that. So I quit. And I go over to KRLA, their competition, and I was going to Art Center School at night, and I was happy. But I was, I thought they should do better music. And so I did all this research about the music that they should be playing. And I presented it to the general manager. I just wanted the station to be better. And he fired the program director and he made me program director. And I was 23 years old. And I went, what? Now I had to figure out what would make good radio. And it was like all on me. So I quit school and I threw myself into it. And it was truly amazing. We had these jingles that were like, it was the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, this gigantic anthem jingle singing KRLA Pasadena, which would be followed by some loud, exciting music. And I did 50 jingles that I wrote and produced. And we did these hilarious contests that were just, they did, Jesus Christ Superstar came out. So we did the what was it called? Hosanna Superstar. It was the Great KRLA Soup or Star Contest. 10 celebrities are floating in the KRLA soup. You have to name the soup and the celebrity to win $10,000 in cash. and it was this Hosanna soup, and the contestant would go bean and bacon, split pea, potato, Tommy Smothers. It was the funniest contest of all time. So we beat KHJ, and to make a long story short, I did that for a while, and then they started making me make changes that I knew wouldn't work, so I quit. And I just quit being program director, and I wanted to just go back to school and go to art school. And so then the next program director fired me because I'm always smiling. This is a true story. He says, I got to let you go. Why? Because you're always smiling. Excuse me? I know you're cynical about what I'm doing, and I can't have that. Right? Are you insane? I'm the only happy person around here. I'm going to Art Center School. What? So they fire me, and then I go into the accountant who glares at me across his desk, and he goes, I hope you go out and spend all this money in the next 2 weeks, and then you don't know where your next penny is coming from. Maybe you'll come to the meaning of life. What's the meaning of life, Don? Management is God. Oh, true. He put the food in your mouth, and he thumped his finger on the desk. They put the food in your mouth, thump, and the roof over your head, thump. Management, thump, is thump, God, thump. And so I left, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then they hired me back a couple of weeks later for more money. Radio is such a weird business.
Wow. Did you go back into that guy's office? Was he eating crow when he hired you back, or?
No, I don't remember ever talking to him again. I actually like the station manager a lot. He was the guy who gave me the opportunity to be program director. But then that's when K-Rock came along, and that's a whole other story.
K-Rock, you created a legendary station. You've always liked the big stuff. I mean, they
had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
All I asked is, Shadoe, can you do a little something for the show? And I sent him a little liner, and he created that. I mean, that sort of big imagery is what you're so good at. It's like you don't think in terms of just little stuff. You think in terms of expansive, dynamic audio. you've always, I think, been that way. Even with the federated spots, those federated spots that you did, they became a calling card, and people look forward to seeing the commercials.
Yeah, bludgeon advertising, we called it. And we did 1,100 of them over from 1981 to 1987. And it was me and 5 guys. It was a Monty Python group, and we would meet in my office, or we had a conference room by that time, and we'd brainstorm on Monday morning. And it was like, who's got an idea? How about Rabbit Frog Bonanzas, Bonanza days? Rabbit Frog Bonanza, I love that. Rabbit Frogs ate our warehouse, and we're passing the savings along to you. Okay, Chuck, you get the frogs, and we'll shoot in a park. and we would have 5, 6, 7, 8 commercials written by midday. And
you were quite the operation. I mean, really. And then your world of acting, that's a real thing too. You were on Dave's World. You were series regular on Dave's World. I mean, you were in the core cast of Dave's World.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Harry Anderson and Meshack Taylor and the whole gang there, and J.C. Wendell I loved, and everybody. It was a really good show, and I am shocked that nothing ever happened. We did 98 episodes over 4 years, and somebody screwed up the syndication deal by demanding that it be tied with some other show, and people said, no. And then they just let it go, and it's never been seen again since. And it had great, Audrey Meadows played my mother.
Yes, I remember that.
How great is that?
Right.
Like a highlight of my life.
Just rip it open, Mom. I'll buy you some more paper.
I'm just not a ripper.
Here you go. A scarf.
Oh, Kenny, it's gorgeous. But then, of course, it would be.
What do you mean, of course it would be?
Kenny, I might as well tell you. I know.
You know what?
Oh, darling, I want us to be closer. And we cannot be until this is out in the open.
Hi, I'm Steve, and I'll be your waiter.
I know you're gay.
Okay, I'll come back later.
Gay? What are you talking about? I'm not gay.
Oh, honey, please. You're a 42-year-old bachelor, and I have never met any of your girlfriends. And look at this scarf. A straight man would never have picked out this scarf.
I didn't. My secretary picked it out. And those birthday cards, she picked those out too. I never lift a finger for you.
That's great. And then Hollywood Squares happened for you. I'm just thinking of some of the high-profile stuff you've been. You really you were in Miami Vice. You were an episode of but the Hollywood Squares thing became this persona where you were kind of the it guy. You started as the announcer, it seemed, then you ended up, kind of being the center of the show. Take me to that. How did that happen?
It's really weird, and it's like a Marvel comic story. I mean, my whole life is a Marvel comic. Way back in Boston, a guy discovered me and put me on television. And then when I came to Los Angeles, that same guy, Rick Rosner, the producer from Boston, put me on the Steve Allen Show. The young, against the grain, sidekick, Ed McMahon. And years later, it's Rick Rosner who's producing Hollywood Squares. We're going to bring back Hollywood Squares. We'd like you to be a part of it. Will you help us with the doing the demo? I went, sure. So I do the demo. I had my own studio by then, and I did the whole thing. And little did we know that it became the biggest hit of the year. It was the #1 show of the year. And they said, no, we got to go. We're going. It's going to be all over the country, and we want you to be a part of it. And I went, I don't want to be an announcer. And so I got a chance to do acting, and I got to grab it. And so I turned him down, and he came back and he asked me again, and I turned him down again. The third time he came back and he said, how about this? We'll put you in a square, and you can do the announcing from the square. You can be a personality on the show. And, when you have to do a movie or something, you can go and then come back and then tell us about what happened. It'll be great. It'll be great. Okay, great. So we do it, and from this little studio in Hollywood, it became massive. It was like the number one show in the country.
Who was the host of Hollywood Squares at that time?
It was John Davidson.
Right. I remember that. I love that iteration of it. Yeah, go ahead.
It was, I think, is maybe the greatest version of Hollywood Squares ever, just because of the amount of invention. And they were the first to go to Radio City Music Hall. And they were first to take the show to Florida and the Bahamas. We did it from Hollywood, Florida. We did it from the Bahamas. And Joan Rivers. I mean, come on. Who's better than Joan Rivers? Nobody.
Yeah, it was a great show with personality, and I just thought it was so funny that they made you. You really the wave of Shadoe Stevens seemed like it was cresting. Then it was really great.
Yeah, it was a great moment, and then of course along comes Casey Kasem leaving American Top 40.
Oh yeah,
and they were searching for his replacement, and 1,100 people auditioned. And because of my, from between Federated and Hollywood Squares, and the fact that I'd been in radio, they went, oh, well, okay, it's probably good for him. But they were still paranoid that I would, ruin their iconic series, and sent me to voice coaches and
what?
Yeah, the first show, the 4-hour show took 18 hours to record because I could not be the world's most earnest man. Everything I've ever done in my whole career has been amusing, satire, tongue-in-cheek, making fun of things, just humor. And now I'm doing keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
It wasn't you. It was Casey. It wasn't you.
I couldn't even fake it. I sounded like an idiot saying those lines. And so we had to rewrite every line for 18 hours. And then we figured it out, and years later it came really easily. We figured out. But I mean, they would, say things like I'd always said, and at the end of the show, I'd say, until we meet again, it's your friend in the void, the shadow. Bye-bye out there. Well, void? What's void? Boy, it sounds dark. I went, it's not dark. It's the universe. It's the infinite everything. I'm your friend in the infinite everything. I mean, come on. What? No. You're going to have to. So I had to compromise and say, and it's your best friend, the shadow, which was all.
That's not a compromise. That's a surrender. Okay. I mean, the thing that I like about your friend in the void, or your, from the void or whatever, I like that it's got mystery, and the name Shadow is a mystery name. It was just so perfect. So, but it didn't hurt it. I mean, you continued on, you were super popular. It's around the world. It was an international show. You were, let's face it.
It was terrific. It was a great job. I mean, they flew me all over the world, my whole family. All over the world. I mean, from Oslo, Norway to Tokyo to Hong Kong and Bali and Norway and England and I mean everywhere.
Yeah.
American Top 40.
I think that's one of the earlier jingles.
Yeah. Yeah, we pumped it up a little.
Yeah, so that's what I like from the 60s or something. Tell me about the latest internet project. We got to wrap up. We'd love to have you back as a regular visitor. And as I say, your show, I should say your voice populates our show. But tell everybody, because you do these radio plays and they're great. And there are a series of them. And for those who would appreciate that ride, it's really a great adventure.
Well, it's mental radio, and it's a series that is on podcasts everywhere. It's got a free app. Mental radio is one word. And when COVID started, I knew I'd be here in my studio, and I thought everybody was freaking out. And I thought, I've got to create something that's funny and uplifting. So I wrote this whole mythology about the mental radio background that goes back to Nikola Tesla in 1893. And it's all based on truth, exaggerated and twisted. And we are broadcasting from a former Masonic temple somewhere in Hollywood. And in it are labs and theaters and research centers and the Outlook Chamber. But really, it's an allegory. It's about the human mind. and all the stories are basically about themes, and the themes can be gloom and doubt and fear and change and time and space and joy and faith. And they have ongoing series of characters. There's one where there's like a story. A man falls into a manhole, pouring rain, and he grabs onto the wall, and a tear falls from his eyes, and it lands on a slug, who flicks it off onto a leech, who twitches, and it lands in the mouth of a rat, who bears a satisfied rat smile, and a beam of light from the moon strikes the sparkle of the rat's pointed teeth, ricocheting back into the sky, burning a symbol on a cloud, a symbol that can only mean one thing: Dixon Ticonderoga. A square-jawed jackhammer of a man comes to the rescue. There's like Dixon, and there's Guy Good as a
Guy Good is what I like. Yeah,
I love Guy Good. And Guy Good, in one episode, he comes after saving the day. He's talking to the saloon owner, Limon Souffle, and he says, "I got a feeling there's a flare-up on a rampage over in Decadence, and we got to put the whammy on it before it takes down the whole poodle."
It's all that kind of dialogue. And before anybody says anything, Shadoe is drug-free, everybody. So
what?
Yeah, I know. It's incredible, but
it's been called audio acid.
He's a sober guy.
What?
I know. It comes from a different place in his head.
Whoa. Like Salvador Dali said, I don't take acid, I am acid.
Well, your art is way beyond this. We talk about the oral art, the AURAL, but you have, you're really an artist, and that really is what your training is. And I know your abiding interest in, so maybe that for next time. But look, I've always loved your work, and it's so cool to call you a friend now, and we love you on the show. And it's going to be a mystery, though, Shadoe, what this sound is, which we at the end of the major announcement.
I've got terabytes of sound that I've been collecting for decades, and big, sound libraries. I have this German library that is unbelievable, gigantic, like creature. There's one called Creature Foley, and it's like the sound of giant creatures thumping over gravel. I mean, look out, hear it comes, good God, save us.
I love it. Shadoe, keep being Shadoe.
Right,
we'll post the website too, and
this has been a major announcement.
Yes,
of the Mark Thompson
yes,
Show.
it has been. The great Shadoe Stevens, everyone. Bravo, pal.
Great.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
Thanks, man.
See you guys.
Oh, yeah. He's pretty terrific. I will grant you that. Wow. And
Yeah.
what a way to go out. We've had a really good show tonight. I have to say, we started hot with Spencer Christian. And then we segued right in. That's probably the word I want to use. To some strong newscasts from Kim with visuals and with the situation in Washington. We also filleted my appearance on the morning show in Los Angeles, KTLA. Then John Rothmann came, and we deconstructed what's going on in the GOP and the vote for GOP leadership. And then finally, we finished with Shadoe Stevens. What a show! What does Nikki have going on, Kim?
I don't know. I'm looking for her text. I don't see it up here.
Screen now. Wash pose, Paul Kane.
Oh,
the votes for House Speaker. Why McCarthy isn't able to get the support. Big storm watch in NorCal.
Shadoe Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show.
And Southwest trying to buy Angry Flyers love. Southwest
Ain't
trying to
gonna work.
back into our hearts.
Nope.
Thanks, everybody. Stay dry. Be careful. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.